We had hoped to have Elder Albert Marshall here today. He started to not feel well over the weekend in lieu of him being here and giving us some teachings personally. So he says, we need a new narrative. It should be obvious to all of us, no matter where we come from, that we must make a collective effort, holding the hopes and expectations of all others, and with inner reflection, and try to answer the question, why am I so silent and in so denial of what is happening with racism, genocide of nature and humanity and every living thing? Let us come together and see how we can move together in love and compassion, using the gifts the Creator has given us to do the work we have to do. No action we take should actively imbalance nature. I honestly believe we have reached a point of no return, allowing the few to compromise natural systems and cleansing of our Mother Earth. She cannot heal at the pace the toxins are being pumped into her. She cannot regenerate herself because the extraction is so vast. We have put our own biodiversity at risk, something that sustains our Mother Earth. How have we forgotten how interconnected we are? How can you survive without air or water or a fertile soil? Are we thinking for the next 7 generations as we should? Every action we take has to be in harmony and balance with Mother Earth. Knowing the air and water and soil nourish all on Mother Earth should take us into that process of reflection, where we all say there is a great need for transformative change. When we are there, then let's all sit down and craft the narrative we need. How do we use the lessons from the past to guide us and come together as one and embrace as one? Whether Black or yellow or white, whatever orientation, with what gifts you have or don't have. What can you contribute to live in a balanced and harmonious way? And rest assured that we have all done everything we could so others can enjoy nature and hopefully find Mother Earth in a better condition than what was.
Hi there. I'm hoping you can see us now and hear us.
We can.
Okay, I'll let Albert introduce himself first.
Yes, my name is Albert Marshall, and I am from the Moose Clan. And I am from Mi'kmaq, the territory of the Micmaq. But I do reside in a community called Eskisoni here in Cape Breton Island. Other than referring to myself as just a student of life. However, I have been, to the best of my ability, tried to be a conduit to the lessons, to the knowledges and the wisdoms that were left for me here by my ancestors, and what the Creator has given me, my 2 eyes, and of course with my 1 eye, with my Aboriginal lens, I see everything from that perspective. And it's much easier for myself because part of that knowledge was instilled in us at a very early age. I've constantly been reminded we are not a superior being here, but we have something in which no other creature has, and that's the count of the mind. Unfortunately, in most cases, that count of the mind has been used in so many negative ways But I think the time has come in which you can transform that knowledge and use the science as part and parcel of our healing journey forward, of using science to begin to mitigate and to renew some of the damages we have done.
Oh. Kwe, hello, bonjour. Nin de Louise De-Ann Sheppard, Adawe Dachenbroek, Wigi Antikanish. My name is De-Ann Sheppard, and I'm originally from Newfoundland and Labrador. I currently live in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, but today I'm sitting in Albert's house at Escazoni in Unama'ki, which is otherwise known as Cape Breton Island. I am Micmaq and Irish descent, and I've spent the last 35 years of my life as a nurse, and I feel like the entry point to this conversation is coming at a very important time. I worked in communities for the past 30 years as a nurse practitioner, mostly primary care, mental health. And it doesn't take you very long in practice to realize that what we were given as tools as we entered practice as nurses doesn't begin to address what we're facing in our practices and day-to-day lives. I started working with Elder Albert 3.5 years ago. I reached out to him when I was starting my PhD work. And I started out mostly thinking that something needed to be changed around how nurses practiced and functioned in First Nation communities and in communities at large. And in our very first conversation, he said to me, I shouldn't have to legislate love, care, and compassion. And so love and Edawaptimak two-eyed seeing, which Albert just spoke about, are probably two of our favorite subjects that even if we wanted to not talk about it, I think we end up talking about it often. And we always circle back to this because love is that fire in us, that fuel in us that brings us into action. And I feel that without addressing that particular energy of us, it doesn't get anything moving. So two-eyed seeing provides a framework to start recognizing that the wisdom of Indigenous ways of knowing, and today we're talking about Micmaq ways of knowing, and taking the best that science has to offer as we move forward. And today, specifically talking about how do we bring love and two-eyed seeing into our practice? How do we bring love and two-eyed seeing into our way of being in the world? Do you want to start, Albert? And
yes, thank you. See, two-eyed seeing. First of all, I believe it's important for me to say this, that word Edawaptimak, it's not really a definition for two-eyed seeing, but rather it's an action-oriented word. It simply says we have to look at everything from another perspective. And of course, most cases, when we look at an issue or an action, it may be a somewhat profound, informative, but just like nature, in which our knowledge have to be constantly evolving. And somehow to keep abreast of that, we kind of have to train ourselves, or at least to be aware that no matter what action or phrase that we might get us into a comfort zone, there is always a room for improvement or refinement. So by constantly training yourself to look at every action or every phrase as to how can I fine tune it and improve it so that I can actually have much more active role into that situation. Because in my culture, it's very easy. My culture is very much collective. As a matter of fact, on a daily basis, I have to remind myself how interconnected, interdependent I am. And that I only have a very small part of what I need to know of why am I here. And I'm always seeking and searching and inquiring of other perspectives. But living on the First Nations communities is much more expedient because we pretty well live in a collective societies. And if you are living in a collective society, you pretty well know everyone, where they come from, who they are, and why they are here. But most importantly, you always are aware that if I am in need of a certain part of that knowledge or knowledge itself, I know exactly who to go to. Because I, as an individual and a human being, it is impossible for me to know every aspect of who I am as a Micmaq person, not alone to look, to see and to clearly understand the complexity of our environment. But being able to tap into these points in which you need clarification, you need guidance, you know exactly who to go to. And with that knowledge you get from this individual, then you can always consistently moving forward. And if you come into another situation where you might be somewhat delayed or whatever, which means then you need another kind of a knowledge. So you go to another individual. And once you get that knowledge from the individual, then you can go on further. So the journey has to be consistently ongoing, which means, I believe, in our simple way of thinking, that no matter where we go for training to be able to sustain ourselves, I think we also have to become very much a student of life.
I think someone just came in. We're okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
And by being a student of life, you are aware that I am not a superior being. I am just a very small part and parcel of this wonderful creation. But I do have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to ensure that no action that I will ever take will compromise the integrity of the source of life in which we all depend upon. As well, whatever gifts that I have of ensuring that the other two-legged will also get some benefit from what I have and what I know. Because when you are part and parcel of this collective, then you don't have to concern yourself if and when you become incapacitated. The only concern that you should be having is, how do I get better ASAP? Because your other challenges that you may have are pretty well maintained and looked after by the community. Because the overall Aboriginal way of thinking is that to be effective in this complex system of our Mother Earth, it's got to be based on a collective effort. So by maintaining the collective at health and well-being, then I believe then we will be able to fulfill and maybe at points excel to our inherent responsibilities. And I think this is something I believe that is somewhat absent in this point in our era, that it somehow everybody feels I'm so overwhelmed. Where am I going to get some time to live out my inherent responsibilities, how to be a caretaker? Because I believe, honestly and truly, that not only the Micmaq people, but all peoples of the world were given a certain gifts, and for those gifts to be applied so that not only the rest of the humanity, but the rest of our relatives that we solely depend upon for our food, medicine, and well-being, if they are well maintained, then I believe there has to be some assurance that a community or an extended community will also have a better opportunities by making sure that there was efforts put forth of not allowing anyone individually or collectively to do anything that will compromise the integrity of our very source of life in which we all depend upon. I think, and with this overall objective, I think it has created a testament, in my humble opinion, as to how our people, the Micmaq people, have somehow managed to coexist in this very complex system of environment for thousands and thousands and thousands of years without ever compromising the integrity of the area, in which this was very much a collective effort, that each one knew exactly what to do. And I'm sure that lesson came from whether we watched the anthill or a beehive, that everyone is hardwired to fulfill their responsibility without someone having to tell them to do it or to do a little better of it. So this analogy, I believe, is something I think that could somehow be seen or taken as a encouragement as to how people could begin to appreciate each other and not to allow anything or anyone to divide us. Because if we are divided, then we cannot exercise or fulfill our inherent responsibilities. Because we have to go in what we call a survival mode. And if and when you're on that mode, you have to utilize all the energy you have to overcome the challenges that that have been placed upon you. And there isn't really much more energy you need to begin to reflect and to really to see what areas that I should be working on, because all your energy is going to be sapped by being on this survival mode. And I think this is something that has been used to divide us and to distract us. That's why I believe, in my humble opinion, why we have, in the epidemic proportions, people are in silence and in denial of all these injustices. whether against nature, against humanity, or even against anything. And I think with that, what I'm hoping is that as these exchange or dialogues are ongoing, we can somehow look beyond those boundaries or differences and agree that we do need a no transformative change. And once we agree there is a need for no transformative change, then I believe we will also agree that we all have to sit down collectively and start crafting what this new narrative would look like, and how that narrative will and should unfold to have a sole effect and benefit to the very source of life in which we all depend upon. Because we have to remind ourselves daily, we are not the superior being. We are just a very small part and parcel of this wonderful creation. And no matter how small our efforts may be, collectively, I believe, if they're done consecutively or whatever, it will make a difference. And of course, hope, where is hope? Hope is something in which we have to believe. If everything we do from here on in is from our heart, and we know our hearts are always overflowing with love and compassion. And we all know, because we all have been shown that love and compassion always prevail. And I think we don't have to look too far back to our own mothers, how important, how much medicine love has, no matter what we may have, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual. So let's roll up our sleeves and begin to craft what this new narrative would look like, what it should look like, so that not only this generation here, but for the generations to come. For us, it's a little more challenging because each generation is given the responsibility of preparing the oncoming generation, not only to carry on of who they are as Micmaq people, but to also make sure that they also will be given to exercise their inherent responsibilities so that the future generations will also have the same opportunities or privileges, if hopefully with better. So I believe today, among all the chaos, there is still hope, because love and compassion will not only guide us, but will also prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. I want to thank Fiona and Jacqueline and Marilyn for reaching out and inviting me into a conversation this past spring. And what Albert doesn't tell you is that he's been decades on the trail of preventing the environment and sustainability. And he still is involved with many, many projects across the world, because it's not just Canada. He's in projects that extend all over the world. And the conversation of health, of course, goes hand in hand. And when I mentioned to him that there was a group of nurses working on this specifically, there was an immediate interest to support and to really inspire and offer hope and love to this kind of action. What this small group has been able to achieve, I feel, in not a long period of time in the context of history, is actually quite amazing. In the interest of time, I just wanted to reflect a few things that Albert spoke of. And I think the biggest thing when he speaks of Edoaptmonk is just moving from like putting your ego on the shelf and really entering spaces with humility and with curiosity. And I feel like that's often missing. And I think the other piece that he highlighted was the idea that no one person has all the knowledge, and nor are we expected to have that knowledge. And yet we know that that knowledge is there. And if we don't know where it is, we know that somebody will tell us where to find it. So that responsibility of holding the knowledge and knowing the knowledge is a collective responsibility. And that actually opens up space for, I feel, even bigger and more complex thinking and solutions. I think we're in the middle of another invisible pandemic. Albert and I speak about this often. And one of the things that came up early in the pandemic was it's never been clearer at any moment in time that nurses are our last defense. And I feel like our role as nurses in healthcare and with the environment is actually becoming more and more important that we are writing, speaking, doing, and doing everything we can to look after ourselves, to mother ourselves, and to look after the mother, our Earth Mother. What we were hoping today is that Albert has often asked if at the end of a conversation, if after reflection, you could submit to Jacqueline or Fiona the 3 actions that are inspired after we have our conversation. I realize that we don't have a lot of time, but what we were hoping at this point was that you would feel free to either raise your hand or just turn your mic and your camera on and ask a question, because this, we were hoping to enter very much as a conversation, and not a conversation that everything needs to get sorted today, but to get the dialogue started. So hoping we'll hear from some of you.
I know I'm supposed to be the one moderating this whole thing, but I do have a comment, and I like the fact that I'm the one saying it first. Honestly, one of the things that really, that I really took to heart was the fact that not one person has the knowledge, and the knowledge is shared collectively. And I think sometimes we feel like we're the only one that can do something, or if we don't know it, we can't start. And I think that's where working together with CANE and in partnership with other people, it's amazing what you can do with decades of work. I'm just thinking even of Elder Albert's contribution even to the scientific community when it comes to like two-eyed seeing. I use it in practice with my students, and it's amazing to have him here today, just having that openness to see differently and to hear differently. I know that was just my comment. I don't know if you have anything to say back.
Maybe we'll let somebody else share, Jacqueline, and see where it goes.
I just wanted to point to Amy Klepetar because she has her hand up.
Thanks. And thank you, De-Ann and Elder Albert for being with us today. I agree with so much of what you said, and I really liked how you talked about not losing hope, because kind of the start of the video, I just felt my spirits kind of dropping, and you know, all these things we all know and agree with, and it's so easy to just lose hope. I mean, for me, it's like minute to minute basis, but something that I think is maybe a concrete step we could take is to harness this place where nurses are right now. And I think, you know, we're always a trusted profession, but, you know, right now you see memes extolling us as heroes, and, you know, people really understand that nurses have been through a lot, and they are still caring for people, even though they may be up against adversity. So harnessing that and our huge numbers across Canada to be advocates. Maybe something I did with our sister organization in the US, the ANI, was I did some advocacy training. It was such a helpful workshop. We learned how to write effective letters to the editor. We learned how to lobby, in government, and we actually went to the State House and we lobbied, and it was amazing how many people listened to us. We had scrubs on, and when they saw a nurse, they listened. So I think we have our usual strong voice. We're an educated group of people. We're passionate about our patients, but I think we're even at a even more important time in history to make those voices known. And also just thinking about the fact that we know that our individual actions, while they're important, that's not what is going to change the whole tide. So pushing for policy in that way, I think would possibly be a bigger impact.
You know, that is really a loaded question. Not so much. There is no answer, but rather another perspective, and that is, let's look at any Olympic team. In order for them to function effectively and efficiently, every athlete has to be ensured that their diet, their well-being is going to be in a tip-top condition. And they will also have trainers training them to be as efficient as possible. Now, I am not sure at this juncture. I know nurses have unions, but I believe, and I'm hoping that the important role that the nurses have is just like an athlete. If the Canadian athletes do not perform efficiently, and if they don't bring any medals home for Canada, Canada is going to feel the pinch. This is much more serious than that. In your hands lies the wellness of all of us. And I believe that responsibility then, I think, should not only fall within the hands of the union or any organization, but fall in the hands of everyone, responsibility of everyone. I don't know how that could be done, but I believe there is a great need of ensuring that this profession will receive every available opportunity for them, not only to perform efficiently and effectively, but also to ensure that their well-being also is going to be at the very top. Because if you are not healthy, if you are not well balanced physically, cognitively, and emotionally and spiritually, how can you expect even just to perform or even to excel? So unless each individual is healthy and balanced in those 4 domains, and I think we, the sick people, will also find hope and feel hope that the people that are going to be taking care of us have been well looked after, so they can look after us when we are sick.
Hi, Marilyn. That's the quickest Albert and I can do things. So we're the time, but I would love to hear what you have to say.
Hi. Yes. Thank you, merci for what you shared. I guess what came to mind, thinking about what you just named with the unions, Amy as well, in terms of losing hope is, and then the balance and that two-eyed seeing is, and moving with love and compassion. And I feel like sometimes it's pretty clear when we're working with client families to be there, but when we're trying to tackle issues of climate change or a workplace environment that our managers or higher ups that really don't see the climate crisis. And we're trying to handle that bigger complexity piece, or addressing systems of healthcare and trying to get them to green up, because as you named, we need to take care of this earth, we need to take care of our future. Then I feel like I tend to go more, sometimes I feel like I'm fighting, and I was just in Manitoba and the unions are fighting and we need to fight our government to get them to get somewhere. But I really appreciate, and this is what came to mind, the reminder to bring the love and the compassion there and at all levels. It's easy for me, it's so clear with client families, co-workers, colleagues, but sometimes when we're having to address the bigger systems, it's harder to bring in the love at that level or feel that love, because it feels like we're fighting. And then this is, I guess, where my mind went to, is connecting back to CANE, and I appreciate all of you being on here today. Many names I haven't seen before. I've been part of CANE for a few years, and us coming together, us meeting today. CANE is a place and a hub for us to create that community, to bring in that knowledge, and then to empower ourselves into action. And so I'm leaving today with this, again, bringing that love, creating that community, and getting strength from that, and then finding solutions, and again, together getting more knowledge about how to move things forward, and to make this world, to address what we need to have hope for a future. So, thank you again, merci.
Thank you. I'm aware that I know we started late, but I think we've taken up our time, and I know you guys have a long meeting, and I'm sorry I can't stay on for the meeting, but I will be there in spirit, and I'll look forward to the minutes.